Good afternoon to all listening. I'm David Ruffin, and as chair, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Confederate Monument Study Committee of the North Carolina Historical Commission. I'd like to ask the study committee members to please signify by responding present when your name is called. Mr. Sam Dixon of Edenton.
Present. Hi, this is Noah Reynolds.
Dr. Chris Fumbiel of Wilmington.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Valerie Johnson of Oxford. Okay, well, hopefully Dr. Johnson can join. Mr. Noah Reynolds, I believe I heard you chime in, of Winston-Salem.
Present.
Okay, and I'm David Ruffin of Raleigh. We're also pleased to have with us on this teleconference meeting Dr. Kevin Cherry, who of course we know as Deputy Secretary of the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, Secretary to our North Carolina Historical Commission, also State Historic Preservation Officer and Keeper of our Capitol building. Also Phil Fagan, who's General Counsel to the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources and Counsel to our Historical Commission. And also Karen Blum, who is counsel for the North Carolina Department of Justice for this issue. This meeting is called explicitly and exclusively for setting the ground rules for the scheduled public hearing on Wednesday, March the 21st. This hearing will be held in the auditorium of the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources on Jones Street in Raleigh, but will also be streamed for the public. Now, in that we're here today only to discuss the ground rules for the public hearing, we would be remiss, I think, not to thank all of the individuals across the state and elsewhere that have already submitted feedback and opinions on this matter before us. I think there's been north of 3,700 people that have already filed their opinions through the website of the department, and that still remains open. Now, as to this matter before us, though, I feel the need to state a very important point of clarification. And that is our charge to both the committee members and to the public. And that is our charge is limited to the specific request for possible relocation of 3 statues or memorials from the Capitol grounds to the Bentonville Civil War battleground. And they are the Capitol Confederate Monument, the Henry Lawson Wyatt Monument, and the North Carolina Women of the Confederacy Monument. Now, while I think we as study committee members and the broader historical commission members are certainly aware that our ultimate recommendations may or may not have any impact or influence on the status of other Confederate monuments and memorials across our state, it is quite important to, I think, reinforce the preciseness of our charge in this current endeavor, which is the 3 previously identified monuments on the Capitol Square, otherwise known as Union Square in Raleigh, home to the historic old Capitol building and the governor's office. We as study committee members are looking forward to this continuation of the public input on this very high profile issue. We understand that opinions are strong and divided and in many cases passionately held. Some see these in absolute terms, others in more nuanced or middle ground terms. But whatever our positions, we must be both fair to divergent opinions and respectful of each other's rights to utter those opinions. Therefore, we prepare, as we do prepare for the March 21st public hearings, I'd like to entertain specific recommendations from this committee and its members on the ground rules for this important meeting.
And this is Sam Dixon. I have 10 of those, and I'd just like to read those out for the committee. First, that the study committee public hearing will begin at 1:30 p.m. and end at 3:30 p.m. Second, that members of the study committee may attend the public hearing in person or by video conferencing. 3, that the study committee chairman may extend the meeting for an additional 1 hour until 4:30 p.m. if he determines additional time is needed. 4, that speakers must sign in using their names and their hometown. 5, that speakers be allowed to speak for 1 minute and at and that a red warning card shall be held up after 30 seconds has passed. 6, that speakers shall be invited to speak in the order in which they have signed up on a list to be kept by a staff member assigned by Dr. Cherry. However, the study committee chairman may, in his discretion, ask for comments representing another view if it appears that the study committee has not heard speakers representing both viewpoints. 7, the speaker shall address the full study committee and shall not direct comments or questions to individual members. 8, the study committee hearing is limited to comments about monuments on the Capitol Square in Raleigh and not about monuments in other locations, including the monument in Chapel Hill. 9, no applause or other noises or clapping shall be allowed or tolerated before, during, or after any speaker. Individuals in attendance who violate this rule will first be warned and then will be removed from the audience if a second violation occurs. And finally, 10, if those wanting to speak are lined up outside the auditorium and there's insufficient space to allow their entrance into the auditorium, then after each speaker completes their 1 minute speech, that speaker will be asked, and if he agrees to leave the auditorium, any individual waiting to speak will then be seated in the order that they signed up. I guess I'll put that in the form of a motion.
That is the form of a motion, Mr. Dixon. Do I hear any discussion?
Yes.
Do I hear any discussion or questions?
Do we have any idea how many people might attend? Any sense of that? I mean, I guess we're expecting a full auditorium. How many people does the auditorium hold?
The auditorium holds. Yes, sir. The auditorium, I believe, holds close to, I think, 200 people. I'm not exactly sure, but around that number.
Okay. The only thing I would recommend is that the public be made aware of these ground rules well enough ahead of time. Kevin, is there any way, or Dr. Cherry, is there any way that we can put these on the website of the department and perhaps notify those who have sent in comments into the public portal that they are now available for their review? I like the ground rules. I just would like to see that the public are made aware of them well enough ahead of time.
We can put it out with the other we can put these ground rules out if they are accepted with the other notifications about the meeting, the public hearing that we will be making from the department if the committee wishes to do so.
And Kevin, this is Sam Dixon. Could we, when somebody signs up, could we hand them a copy of these rules?
Yes, sir. We can make that happen if the committee wishes to do that.
So do we need a separate motion for that?
I think it hasn't been seconded yet. I think I can just add that upon signing in to speak, a speaker will be handed a copy of the rules. Well, let me take that back. I think everybody walking into the public hearing ought to be handed a copy of these rules.
Yeah. And then the other addition to it, Mr. Dixon, I think would be that you add that this would be upon proven of the committee that these would be part of the public notification.
And I'll add that as number 11.
Sam, I actually, I agree that we need to hear different points of view. How do we make that happen?
I think we have the way I wrote this was that if, let's say one group lined up and they got all, the whole speaking side, that the chairman could midway through say, we've only heard from one side of this debate. We'd like to hear from some people on the other side. So, and that would be up to the chairman to make that decision.
It almost needs, this is David Ruffin, it almost needs to be a decision made in the kind of at the moment, because of it's very difficult, and I think, to anticipate or hypothesize how many or how whatever would constitute that. I think it's just a judgment call. But again, I think the whole presumption here is that we're trying to be open and fair and respectful of all opinions, and therefore we would use that discretion to ensure that as best we reasonably could.
This is Valerie. Dr. Johnson here. Maybe under 6, if we have a I guess a subscript A would be that very thing, that we are interested in something to the effect that we're interested in a balanced representation from the public, so that I just know that we need to assert very strongly that we're not going to just hear a singular view.
I think we all agree with that. This is Dr. Fondle. I think that's absolutely crucial, that we need to hear from a variety of views from many people. This thing should not turn into a partisan partisan issue one way or the other. We need to have a nice balanced viewpoint from many people.
So I guess my question is, this is Dr. Johnson, is 6 strong enough to make sure people understand that that is exactly what we're going to be doing? And there may be different means to get this wide variety. So it may not be that just because you sign up, that you will be guaranteed. I guess I'm just trying to make sure folk don't have the strategy of kind of signing up, getting a whole group of people together to sign up one after another.
Yeah.
That only have a singular viewpoint. And I just want to make sure this is strong enough. Number 6 is strong enough to say we're going to make certain that we air the variety of viewpoints.
Should we divide up the sign-in sheet by viewpoints, pro and con? Should we do it that way?
No, I was thinking more that the part where the chairman can stop and, if it feels like the balance is too great, that intercede and see who else would be speaking next, to kind of in the moment, because we don't know who's going to show up. We don't know how people are going to show up. I think it's to give this ground rule gives the chairperson the ability to organize the proceedings to best reflect everyone's viewpoint. I guess I don't think that they should indicate on the sheet what way they're going, because that could just it'll bog it down.
Dr. Fondle, I think it's instinctive to think of it in those terms, pro and con, but I honestly believe there's some kind of, as I said, nuanced middle of the ground.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying? It's difficult to just say this totally polarized yay nay kind of situation. So
you're absolutely right.
I do think that if someone could be comfortable with the discretion of the chair to perceive an imbalance, and that we try to find verbiage that would describe that, as opposed to overly structuring it in terms of 5 people saying this or 5 people saying that.
Chairman,
with flexibility.
Mr. Chairman, this is Kevin Cherry. I think that if it is stated strongly at the beginning of the meeting that the chair will use a prerogative to seek a variety of opinions, that the people there the people who've come to give their opinions and to make their statements will understand that. But I do think it would be very important to make that statement very strongly at the beginning of the meeting, so people will understand if they are interrupted and ask for someone else to speak, that they know what's happening.
Okay. Certainly.
This is Noah Reynolds. I had a comment on that. Is there any way, I mean, what I could see is there may be groups or organizations that may come, and you may have 15 or 20 or 30 people from an organization come in. And I think if an organization wants to be heard, that's fine. But if someone's going to speak on behalf of an organization, we wouldn't want 30 people to speak on behalf of that same organization in a row. So I don't know if there's any way you could ask people to identify if they're speaking individually or on behalf of an organization, as a way to make sure that we got all different groups heard, but we didn't have 15 or 20 people in a row from the same group who would obviously share the same ideas speak and take up a lot of the time.
Can we make that one of the ground rules? That if you've got an organization, and I suspect that there will be some organizations there, that you have a spokesperson for that organization, or maybe two spokespersons for that organization, so that we don't hear from 25 or 30 different people from that organization with the same view, as Mr. Reynolds pointed out.
Yeah, this is Sam Dixon. I don't know how we get into that. I mean, that seems to be, I mean, I don't know, that would be very difficult, whether they're speaking individually or whether they're speaking for the organization. I mean, just, you know, I just think that's a very difficult thing to enforce.
I do think, I agree with Mr. Dixon on that, because I do think when you get into you create enough of a process issue that then itself becomes part of a debate, and then it becomes part of a challenge, and then it becomes part of the whole meeting, that we don't want that. We want a fair representation, and I realize I'm the one that's being asked to potentially do that, but I feel fairly strongly that we have to keep this a little bit less than highly structured or anticipating every hypothetical circumstance.
One follow-up comment. Would it be possible to ask people to just state if they're speaking on behalf of an organization? We don't have to ask them to do anything other than that, but you could say, you know, if you are speaking on behalf of an organization, just say that. And that might make it easier if people wanted to do that.
I think that's fair.
I think most speakers are going to be inclined to identify themselves, maybe their hometown, and probably their organization too. But I don't know that we should require that they identify themselves with a particular organization.
Well, maybe not required. This is Valerie, but we can request. I mean, it's part of the public information.
I would say, you know, would you please identify yourself, and if you are representing an organization, if you would give us that information, that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
But not require it.
That works for me.
That's fine. If people it's a voluntary thing. If people are speaking on behalf of an organization, they should just, and they're willing to state that, then they should say that. If they, you know, are speaking as individuals, they can do that as well. I think from a voluntary standpoint, if people would wish to state that, they should do that. We would encourage them to do that if they want to, but I don't think we can require it.
I just think we need to have a forum for open debate wherein the speakers don't feel intimidated in any way whatsoever, that they feel free to identify themselves, to identify the organization that they represent, and to say what they, you know, whatever viewpoint they may have.
This is David. Another way to potentially get to this, it goes to Dr. Cherry's point about the chairman making a statement at the commencement of the meeting of fairness. Would that not be the time potentially to say, with respect to, if you are a member of an organization, would you be willing willing to identify that. And if not, that's just their prerogative.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, this is Sam Dixon. I think that's a good idea.
Me too. So we still have a, it's been moved. Was it second, this motion?
No, not seconded yet.
Okay, well, I will second this, the motion that's on the floor regarding the ground rules.
Do I hear any further discussion? Sam, was there any modification you were going to make on this? I beg your pardon. I believe at one point you said I'll make that number 11. And I'm not so sure we didn't divert off that or go in another direction. So I apologize for that. Is there?
Kevin, did you get down what we said for number 11?
You were going to, well, all of a sudden it just went right out of my head. Hold on 1 second.
I'm glad it wasn't just one.
Yeah.
Look, I called an hour early. I think it was 4 o'clock.
It was about asking people to go. That was your 10th point. And then the 11th point was, Phil, did you take notes on the 11th point?
I believe point 11 was just to make public notice of these rules.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, on the website.
That's
Yeah.
That's what it was.
It can be done.
And then to be handed out, individual.
That's right.
Hand them out to
Thank you
every
for
person
reminding
who
me.
enters the room. To hand them out to every person who enters the room, and then to make these ground rules a part of the meeting notifications that we make.
Yes.
Correct. Correct.
I think that's correct.
Dr. Johnson, are you comfortable with making a second with that proviso that 11 is added to these 10?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Any further discussion before we ask for a vote?
I'd just like to thank Sambo for the proposals. I think they're great ground rules. You put a lot of thought and work into that, Sambo, and thank you.
You're welcome. I just wanted to be, I just wanted to I want this thing to be fair, and I want it to, work for the benefit of everybody.
Well, again, this has already elicited tremendous amount of feedback. As I alluded to, over 3,700 people have responded. That doesn't even include individual emails and letters that have been written. So I do think I agree that this is absolutely an attempt by our committee to be as open and fair as we can to getting public response. So, and I concur also. Thank you so much, Sam, for the work on this.
Mr. Chair, we still have to vote.
Yes, absolutely. All in favor of the proposal as amended, including the 11.11, which is notification of the ground rules to both the attending public and via the website, please say yes.
Yes.
Dr. Johnson here, yes.
Right. Yes.
We have to, Mr. Chair, since this is a meeting by phone and remote, we have to do a roll call vote.
Okay, Mr. Sam Dixon?
Yes.
Dr. Chris Fonville?
Yes.
Dr. Valerie Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Noah Reynolds?
Yes.
And I cast David Ruffin, yes. Thank you so much. Okay, there being no other agenda item for this particular meeting, I will entertain a motion to adjourn, and then we will look forward to our meeting on the 21st of March.
Dr. Fonville, so moved.
thank you all very, very much for the contributions.
Thank you.
Thank you. See y'all next week.
Thank you. Okay, goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, so how do you